It was meant to be just another interview, but when Jennifer Lopez sat across from Howard Stern on October 15th, everything changed. In a candid, unfiltered conversation, the superstar, known for her confidence, her music, and her glittering love life, was suddenly quiet. Howard leaned forward and asked a question no one had ever dared to ask her so directly. "Do you think you've ever truly been loved?" For a moment, time seemed to freeze. The room went silent. And Jennifer paused. Then, in a soft, almost trembling voice, she said one word: "No." That single answer sent shockwaves through fans and media alike. After all the fame, fortune, and high-profile romances, could it really be that Jennifer Lopez, one of the most desired women in the world, had never experienced true love? When Jennifer Lopez walked into the Howard Stern show, she was radiant, calm, polished, in control. But no one expected the conversation to turn so raw, so fast. Howard, known for his unfiltered style, didn't waste time. Between laughs and stories about her new movie, Kiss of the Spider-Woman, he suddenly dropped the question that would define the entire interview. "Do you think you've ever truly been loved?" For a second, Jennifer just stared ahead, her smile fading into thought. You could almost feel her searching through years of relationships, the proposals, the heartbreaks, the glamorous red carpets, before answering. And then she said it. "No." The studio went quiet. Even Howard seemed surprised. But Jennifer wasn't being dramatic. She was being honest. She explained that while she's deeply loved others, she realized most of the men in her life simply weren't capable of loving her the way she needed. "It's not that I'm not lovable," she said. "It's that they're not capable. They gave me what they had, the rings, the houses, the gestures. But that wasn't love. It was a confession that peeled away the Hollywood perfection and revealed something painfully human, that even a global superstar can feel unseen in love." Jennifer Lopez has never been the kind of woman to love halfway. When she falls, she dives in, body, soul, and heart first. From her whirlwind marriages to her highly publicized romances, J.Lo has always been the one to give everything and expect nothing less in return. But as she reflected on her past with Howard Stern, there was a sense of exhaustion in her words. She admitted that for years she poured herself into relationships that couldn't hold the weight of her love. "They gave me what they had," she said softly, "but it wasn't enough." Behind the diamonds, private jets, and picture-perfect weddings, there was a woman trying to fix something that couldn't be fixed. Men who didn't know how to love her back because they didn't know how to love themselves. And then came the confession that hit even harder. "I didn't love myself either." That's when everything clicked. It wasn't just about failed relationships. It was about a pattern of seeking validation through others, of trying to fill a void that only self-love could heal. In that moment, Jennifer wasn't the pop icon or the movie star. She was every person who's ever given too much, hoping love would finally be enough. After her last divorce, Jennifer Lopez didn't rush into another romance, another project, or another distraction. Instead, she did something she'd rarely done before. She stopped. She looked inward. "It was the best thing that ever happened to me," she said, describing the end of her marriage not as a loss, but as a breakthrough. For the first time, J.Lo turned her spotlight toward her own heart. She began therapy, worked with spiritual coaches, and surrounded herself with people who helped her confront the one relationship she had ignored the most, the one with herself. She wasn't afraid to admit how messy it got. "I had a religious coach, I had a therapist, a couples therapist, an individual therapist, and I had a coach to understand addiction. I had everything," she confessed with a laugh. "I was like, I'm gonna figure this out if it kills me." What she uncovered was powerful. Every heartbreak, every failed marriage, every emotional scar pointed back to one truth. Love could never save her until she learned to love herself first. That realization became her compass. It's what guided her through the storm, what rebuilt her confidence, and what allowed her to finally stand tall, not as J.Lo the star, but as Jennifer, the woman who knows her worth. The woman who once sought validation through grand gestures and whirlwind romances began to change. Slowly, quietly, Jennifer Lopez started to rebuild, not around the people she loved, but around the person she had finally learned to love, herself. Gone was the constant need for approval, the endless chase for a perfect partner. In its place was a calm, grounded version of J.Lo, one who didn't need love to complete her, only to complement her. She began to understand that true strength isn't in how many times you fall in love, but how many times you rise after being broken. In interviews, she now speaks with a kind of serenity that used to elude her. She talks about boundaries, about balance, about peace. There's a quiet confidence in her tone, not the loud glamour of red carpets, but the kind that comes from surviving, healing, and knowing exactly who you are. She's not running toward anyone or anything anymore. She's walking, steadily, intentionally, into this new chapter. One where love isn't about the rings or the headlines, but about mutual respect, understanding, and emotional honesty. While Jennifer was opening up about love and healing, Ben Affleck had his own truth to share, and it couldn't have been more different in tone. In a rare interview, he spoke softly, even respectfully, about their past. He didn't deny the pain, but he refused to dramatize it. There was no scandal, no soap opera, he said. It's just two people trying to figure out their lives. For a man often painted as Hollywood's brooding mystery, his words were surprisingly human. He admitted there was no explosive moment, no villain in the story, just two people who loved, tried, and eventually grew apart. Yet beneath his calm, there was an unmistakable sense of melancholy, the kind that comes from knowing you've let go of something deeply familiar. Ben also revealed that he still holds a deep respect for Jennifer. In fact, he helped produce her latest project, Kiss of the Spider-Woman, quietly standing behind the scenes as she made her big-screen return. It wasn't about rekindling a romance this time. It was about closure, perhaps even admiration. Two people who had survived the chaos of love and could finally see each other clearly. But even with that mutual respect, fans couldn't help but wonder. Were those glimpses Jennifer talked about really gone forever? Or was there still a flicker of something left between them? In the end, Jennifer Lopez's story isn't about the men she loved. It's about the woman she finally became. After years of searching for validation through relationships, fame, and fairy tale endings, she's discovered that the greatest love story is the one you write with yourself. She's no longer chasing the idea of being loved perfectly. She's learning to love herself, flaws and all. Her words to Howard Stern weren't bitter. They were freeing. "It's not that I'm not lovable," she said. "It's that they're not capable." And maybe that's what healing looks like. Understanding that someone's inability to love you deeply has nothing to do with your worth. Now, Jennifer stands stronger, wiser, and more at peace than ever before. The diamonds, the marriages, the heartbreaks, they were all chapters leading to this moment of clarity. Because when you stop looking for love to complete you, that's when you finally realize it's been inside you all along.